Coming up, raisins in California. The family business growing grapes on a grand scale. German engineering creating the next generation of high-tech showers. And the ancient craft of traditional Japanese paper making. How do they do it? For a quick, nutritious snack, it's hard to top a raisin. The US produces around 250,000 tons a year, almost a quarter of the world's supply. And 99% of them come from just one state. California is the raisin capital of the world. How do they do it? Central San Joaquin Valley, California. Nearly every raisin in America is grown here. The Moles family have been working this land for more than 70 years. Their company, Sun Valley Raisins, has 1,600 hectares of vines. Ray Moles is a third-generation raisin producer.
I've been producing raisins all my life. I must have grown billions and billions of grapes in my years as a farmer.
His raisins are made from the Thompson seedless white grape variety.
This is my 42nd harvest that I've been involved in.
Obviously, the first step in producing raisins is growing the grapes. For the flavor, the vines need to draw nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium from the soil, along with the water they need to grow.
It seems dusty, but it has a lot of nutrients in it.
But too much or too little water can cause problems for the vines. To give each vine just the right amount, they use drip irrigation. A network of pipes provides each vine with 180 liters of water a week. The California climate delivers the other essential ingredient for raisins, sun. And lots of it. From May to September, it beats down an average 13 hours a day. Perfect for producing the natural sugars that make raisins sweet. After a couple of months, the grapes are plump and juicy. But you can't tell by eye whether they have enough sugar to be ready to harvest. Ray does some on-the-spot science. The thing he's squinting into is called a refractometer. It measures the sugar-to-water ratio of the juice by showing how much light bends or refracts as it passes through.
Pull off some berries like this, and then I'm going to squeeze them in my hand a little, let the juice fall onto this refractometer, and then you close the lid, then you look up into the sun, and we see that the sugar content is ready for picking at 20 sugar.
The sugar content is perfect, so it's a thumbs up from Ray. Workers cut the fruit in canes so the grapes can dry on the vine. After 2 to 3 weeks, they shrivel and start to become raisins. Then it's picking time. Of course, when you're growing 4,000 acres or 16 square kilometers of grapes, picking by hand isn't an option. And the narrow rows make mechanical harvesting a challenge. The answer to this peculiar problem is one of the weirdest machines in farming, the raisin shaker. This 7-ton mechanical beast straddles the vines, chewing through the vegetation. Inside the monster, nylon rods oscillate 300 times a minute, beating the vines to shake the raisins free. A series of buckets carries them upwards, whilst leaves and stalks are spat out the back. A conveyor ferries the fruit over to a hopper. Working in tandem, the two machines breeze through 8 hectares, or 20 acres, a day.
There's usually 56 rows in 20 acres. If I wanted to pick 20 acres a day by hand the traditional way, so I'd need at least that many people to pick the same amount of grapes.
But the grapes need to lie out in the sun to finish drying, and this much fruit takes an awful lot of space. The ingenious solution is to spread them out between the rows. They lie on the biggest sheet of paper you've ever seen, which unrolls behind the hopper. This simple step keeps the grapes off the ground while they dry, and will come in handy later too. The California sun bakes them, the temperature on the paper surface reaching 50 degrees Celsius. But the farmers are always working against the clock.
You have a window of making raisins from about the 25th of August to the 25th of September to get them down on the ground.
After 2 to 3 weeks, the grapes dry and shrivel to a third of their original size, concentrating the sugars. But they're still on the ground. This is where the giant paper roll comes in handy again. The Sun Valley tractors cruise into action, towing specially designed trailers. Spinning rubber fingers lift the paper off the ground, taking the raisins up with it. A ridged conveyor carries the fruit up, while the paper is spat out the back to compost into the soil. Up the raisins go to the trailer's long arm that drops them in bins on another tractor.
They can box 22 to 25 acres per day per machine.
Filled to the brim with raisins, the half-ton boxes are stacked on the roadside, ready for collection. The next day, they arrive here at Sun Valley's factory. Production manager Brendan Freer is in charge of processing.
When they first arrive, they're weighed. They have to be inspected for anything from moisture to stems to sand, anything and everything that we want or do not want in the product.
But the visual inspection can't catch everything. The crates could conceal all kinds of creepy crawlies. To make sure you don't get a mouthful of anything nasty, the raisins go into a fumigation chamber. It's sealed and pumped full of insecticides to kill any unwanted intruders.
Insects could be there. The fumigation essentially kills anything that we do not want in there.
The next morning, the bug-free raisins are dumped onto a conveyor belt. Up they go. But there's still plant debris in the mix, and nobody wants that much fiber in their fruit. So this machine really shakes things up. The perforated table bounces out stalks and stubborn clumps. From here, the raisins flow in a virtual river of fruit to the wash plant, where they run the rapids of a mechanical stream. A line of sprayers gives them a final rinse. The raisins are now clean, but they're wet, which could cause them to rot in the box. So a centrifugal dryer spins the fruit at 1700 RPM to get rid of the water.
The fruit is spinning while it's moving through. The water is getting wicked away and washed down, and then the drier fruit is continuing on with the process.
An Archimedes screw carries the dried fruit up the final climb to the packing area. And a computer-controlled chute drops pre-weighed batches into packing boxes, 13 kilos at a time. Over 150 tons of dried fruit roll off this production line every day. Raisins destined for breakfast tables and bakeries across the world.